So April has asked me to join her on her YouTube channel today to just talk a little bit about, I guess, mainly my garden and what I like to put in there, how we did it last year, things that we liked, things we didn't like, things we're going to change. Um, so last year with the potato garden, we had some issues that didn't quite expect to be happening. We paid a lot of money to get a dump truck full of topsoil um, here. And by topsoil, I mean they say it was topsoil, but after a couple weeks, it really started to look very clayey.
It ended up being more like fill dirt rather than what you would think of topsoil. We knew it wasn't garden soil, but it was more just like fill dirt, clay, gray, hard.
And it was workable. We were able to grow some potatoes out of it, so it wasn't a total failure.
Oh no, we got a lot of potatoes.
But as advertised for the price we paid and what we got, a little disappointed in that. So this year we decided to. Well, I guess I decided to. I make a lot of just spur of the moment decisions, and my wife comes home and there's packages here, deliveries from Lowe's here. So I bought something like, I don't know, 30, 40 bags of clay breaker and probably another like 25 bags of topsoil from actual Lowe's, like high quality topsoil. Because I know I can't go wrong when it comes to that. You see the product you're gonna get, and you spend a little bit more money, I guess. But with me, you make a little bit extra money. You spend the money, so you put it back into your farm or your homestead, and you just keep trying until you figure out what works. So I think my wife did some videos of me. I was working, getting a lot of that clay breaker, a lot of that topsoil mixed in there. And for potatoes, I went ahead and when I put all that stuff down, I used root crop fertilizer, specifically potato. It's advertised as potato fertilizer from Gurney's, I think, is who I used. I used them last year too, and I saw pretty good results as far as the plants growing quick and healthy. And they advertise, potato fertilizer and then onion fertilizer. But when you look at the makeup of it, it's the same exact ratios for the big three. So it's the same fertilizer. And so just know that, like, don't go out of your way to buy like potato fertilizer and onion fertilizer. Pretty much all your root crop fertilizer is going to be the same thing. So last year we also got a little bit of a late start. Potatoes don't particularly do that great in the high heat of the summer. But another thing about potatoes is after they grow, you'll think that your plants are great. They're flowering. Flowering is always a great sign. Nice, big, and bushy. And then all of a sudden they'll just start turning yellow. Some plants will just completely die off, just completely. And I did some more research of it over the off season here, and that's completely normal. Once they're done, they're done. Typically, you'll see the whole row that you planted will all kind of die all at once if it's all the same seed. Now, we use different potatoes. I split up some things. I kind of mix and match everywhere. I just get kind of carried away sometimes, and I just throw things in the garden just to see if they'll work. So this year, we're going to be planting. Originally, we were planning on planting sweet potatoes, Yukon Golds, and purple potatoes on my side of the garden. Then I got sidetracked, and so I'm still doing all those, but now I'm adding some rows of peanuts because where we live, peanuts grow really well. And then digging through my closet, I was going to throw out all my old potatoes because I knew that some of them were rotten. And pleasantly surprised to find a lot of the potatoes that we kept are ready to grow. So now I'm also planting Pontiac Reds, which I didn't plan to do, but I probably have like 80 of them. So I don't know. I don't have enough room. I'll figure it out. I'll throw some in containers maybe. I'll throw some away. I'm not sure. So things that we did last year that we're not going to do this year again is washing the potatoes after you harvest them out. So last year's trial run, I watched a couple videos, didn't listen to some advice, should have listened to some advice. So when you harvest the potatoes, go ahead, leave them out on the ground for 2-3 days, then pick them up, put them somewhere where they're going to be in the shade, but like outdoory, kind of like a shed. Or I saw one guy, he just left them on a trailer, but had the trailer next to a shed, and they didn't get sun on them, and he left them there for a while. Now you want to do that because after a couple weeks, some potatoes will rot, and if you've bagged them up, they will ruin the whole batch. Saw that happen here. Also, another mistake, I put some in plastic bags because I don't think sometimes. And so I was through the plastic bag, any condensation coming off those potatoes is trapped in there, and it just makes them rot so fast. I threw a bag of liquid away yesterday as I went through. So I'm glad that I at least broke them up into little bags. That might be something if you're not growing that many of them, or is it only 2 of you, you might want to definitely think about breaking them up. Definitely recommend burlap sacks. Going burlap sack route this year.
Which, granted, we have not tried yet, but we are anticipating that it'll be better.
Yeah, it can't be worse. It can't be worse. It's all
Last
trial
year, I'm
and
going to
error.
cut to this clip when it totally fails.
It could happen. So I just wanted to show you guys a couple things before we get started. So last year, the weirdest thing happened with our sweet potatoes. Okay, I planted sweet potatoes. I planted all my potatoes at the same time. I think mid-April. So I was late. I was behind planting my potatoes. I know that. I'm still probably a little behind this year, but a lot are going in today. So the sweet potatoes went in, and I never grew potatoes before. Didn't know what to expect. So I never saw any sweet potatoes come up, any plants. Not like the other plants, anyway. And I dug around a couple months later, didn't find anything. Figured they failed. Whatever, we'll try again next year. Then, after I harvested basically all my potatoes, I'm getting ready to weed out my garden, and I noticed one weed that doesn't really look like a weed to me, and some of the leaves are purple on it, and it's viney. So they were the sweet potatoes. They came up, they were really late. We got an okay harvest on them. They weren't very big. We got like 4 nice ones, and we definitely ate the 4 nice ones.
Yeah.
The other ones, I wasn't really interested in cooking them that much, so I just kind of threw them to the side. And I'm actually going to try to slip them, which I've never done before. Watch a video on that. So I set 7 of my good ones up to slip, and then I'm also just going to go ahead and plant a couple of the store-bought ones right in the ground like I did last year. Another mistake last year, I wanted to save time, and I'm still going to save time this year because I feel like it's going to be better. I planted my potatoes too deep. I thought that on the video, the guy, he plants them outdoors in Minnesota, I thought he said that, he planted his like 12 inches. Really, he planted them like 6 to 8, but I planted mine like 12 or 14. And they pretty much all came up, but they took a really long time to get up, and with the topsoil not really working out that well, it compacted in on them. It's hard to get potatoes. We got some. They were smaller size for the most part, but I mean they didn't do too bad. We got a lot of, like, if you can see this size here, this is actually a purple potato that I'm gonna plant either today or tomorrow. We got a lot this size. I like potatoes this size.
Yeah.
I don't like to have a giant, just a massive baked potato. Because what are you going to do when you harvest 80 of those? Like, are you going to eat a potato, like, every 3 days? Like, a giant one? I like to just half these up, broil them, put a lot, a little olive oil, garlic salt, and just broil them up and just have them as a side. So we'll go through a couple of the potatoes that we're going to do. We'll start off with, like I said, the purple potatoes. Now, this year we're going to plant a lot look just like this. We harvested these last year, and I threw them in the closet, and we ate off of them, for a little bit. Then we just kind of moved on to eating something different. That's a nice part about when you have so much food, is that you can really choose. I get carried away with the meat portion. I'm sure at some point April will talk about that. We have like 4 freezers, and they're all pretty much full to the brim with different meats. But anyway, back to potatoes. So this is a store-bought one that I actually just picked up a week or 2 ago, and it looks like some of them have a little bit of mold on them. I'm probably, now that I know that I have so many of these, I'm probably just going to scrap some of the store-bought ones. if you want to go plant potatoes, a good place to start is actually like at your local feed stores, because they're generally going to carry what grows well in your area. They're not going to be stocked with things that aren't going to grow well. You can get carried away, I know me and my wife do, looking at cool looking plants that have awesome looking fruit and vegetables. Then you plant them in your region and they don't quite pan out. These worked really well last year. Bought them at Tractor Supply, next to nothing. I just got carried away and bought them. And they worked out well, so we're going to replant some of these. And I'll try some of the ones that I bought. Don't really know how that's going to go. So the next ones that we're going to do that we weren't planning on doing is the Pontiac Reds. These are ready to go. They tasted, I think, okay.
Yeah.
They weren't, a lot of people love them, so they have that going for them. But these ones weren't that great. The next one is definitely my favorite. And it's the Yukon Golds. I got them off Gurney's. They grew great. They taste phenomenal. They literally taste like the potatoes already buttered for you. You know, you just gotta add a little bit of salt, pepper, and I like to always rub mine in olive oil after I, half them up, cube them up, and put them on a baking tray, whatever. These grew really well. I got a lot of potatoes about this size, a little bit bigger too. I got some a little bit bigger, and that's perfect size for me for these. Now I like to grow a couple really big ones, and that might happen this year now that we got the soil a lot better. So we're going to try this. I'll trial and error. I planted mine really close to each other last year. I think a lot of people spaced their rows out by like 3 feet, which I did. But then they spaced their potato plants out about 20 to 24 inches, I think, of the video. One of the videos I watched the other day, that's what he was doing. Last year, I just threw potatoes at the garden and went overboard. And I'm probably going to do it again this year because I prefer to get more medium-sized potatoes. Now, when you plant things like corn and everything, they want you to block them because of the pollination and how that works. But with potatoes, the nice thing is that if you just have like a long strip, like a rectangular strip, you don't need to worry about blocking them in for fertilization or anything since they're a root crop. So it's really nice, and a lot of people grow them in containers. I think I might put together 1 or 2 containers this year just to see. I know you can get really good quality in there, but also a raised bed is practically just a giant container in itself. So we'll do that, and I'm sure April will show you some video of me planting them, and I'm sure I'll forget where I planted what. Maybe I'll do a better job this year writing it down. And we'll see what happens. So I'm going to go ahead and head to the garden and plant some in there and see what happens. And I'm sure April will talk to you about some stuff that I probably forgot. So let's get in the garden.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're planting in some of our potatoes here. So I did them 10 inches apart. Probably not nearly enough space, but you can crowd potatoes, especially if you're not trying to get the giant ones like I talked about earlier. We're only waiting on one of our other potatoes to come in. It's supposed to ship out on the 31st. So I went ahead and this is my garden bed. I have already planted 1 row of Yukon Golds that were left over from last year. No idea how well they're going to do. I'm 100% prepared if it's bad to dig them up, and I ordered more than enough to just go ahead and replant that whole row. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we'll be alright. So next to that row, I did an entire row of purple potatoes. I did half of them with my locally bought, for us, that means Tractor Supply. Locally bought purple potato seeds, which aren't quite as, they're just barely coming out right now. So I planted 17 plants. I did 7 of them with these. I did...
Troy is pretending to drink beer in the background, so I'm not sure what to do about that.
Yeah, we'll blur it out. I did 10 of our kept potatoes, as you can see. And, you know, just to hold them up to compare them here. In my mind, the homegrown ones sure do look a lot more healthy, livelier, more colorful than where your tubers, roots, whatever you call them, are breaking off of your store-bought one.
That's true.
Like I said, no idea if it's going to work or not. I'm pretty sure it is, and I'm really excited if it does, because that means that you can grow your own food year after year by simply keeping what you grew that was excess, whether it's with your potatoes or your corn or your okra or your tomatoes, peppers. Just save your seeds. That's all you have to do. And, you know, it's trial and error, obviously, and you'll see what works and what doesn't work. So this year, we're trying it with potatoes, which would only be 1 year out of when I first started doing potatoes. My wife thinks I grow way too many of them. That's fine. I know I'm going to grow way too many of them. But now I look smart because we're going to do it this way this year. Also, in the back end, if you see where there's a couple sticks and stuff lined out. Well, you can walk over here if you want to, though. Yeah. All right, Troy. So, like I said, we did Yukon Golds, row of purple potatoes, half and half. I waited. There's going to be a center row that's going to go in once the actual Yukon Gold potato seeds come in, so I can see the difference between the two. Then here, we've got 3 rows of sweet potatoes. Those were locally bought as well. Went ahead and put the whole potato in the ground for those. Didn't slip them. Didn't go that route for these ones. We do have some sweet potatoes that we'll show you that are in water right now that I'm going to slip and try out, and I'm going to try them in containers. And I know that they should grow well in containers. It's just a lot of the videos and research that I see, grow them in containers, you're going to get a couple giant ones. You're not going to get a lot of little ones. But I mean, for sweet potatoes, that's fine. I mean, normally when you're eating a sweet potato, you half it, and one person eats half, one person eats half. After your 3 rows of sweet potatoes, I have some peanuts that I put in. First year doing peanuts. So we'll see how that goes. Just got to make sure that the soil is really loose at the top, because what happens with peanuts, unlike potatoes, so they're both root crops, but with peanuts, when the flowers come and they get pollinated, the flowers actually will shoot off shoots that will go to the ground, and that is where your actual peanut will come from.
I didn't know that.
So the bush comes up, it flowers, the shoots go down into the ground, and that's where you get your peanuts from. Potatoes, the flowering means that you have a nice healthy plant, and throughout the summer we'll show you that, because they hopefully will flower. They did last year, they flowered a lot. But it's not the same concept with potatoes. Everything's under the ground there. The flowers simply let you know that you have good, healthy plants. And actually, the fruit that comes off the potato, the actual potato seed, which you could grow potatoes off of, it's a longer process, but it's actually a little bit poisonous. So we'll probably pluck them off so that our little troll over there, if he manages to grab one and eat it, or we're going to be adding chickens. I'm sure my wife will talk about that at some point in time. Don't want them to get in that. I don't really know how deadly it is, but I know that it is poisonous. So that's what's going on in the potato garden today. We're taking advantage of being stuck at home for the next couple weeks. So we've got a couple 6 sheep we're taking care of right now. Hopefully they recover. We're working hard on the garden. A lot of cleanup to do around here.
Uh-oh, you got hurt? Oh, no.